Hey guys. Well, last week's episode was so popular with Collin, I decided I was just going to call her again for Doula Diaries. So let's give her a ring. And if you listened to last week, did we have a car baby? I don't know. Did we? Did you listen? Let's do the fake ring. Ring, ring, ring.
Hello, this is Collin with Doula Differently.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, girl.
Hi.
Okay, today I think we have to share about K and B and their
Yes.
births this week.
Yes.
All right, where do we
Yes.
I think we want to start with you guys, we're going to try to keep this episode short. And what we want to tell you, the takeaway of this, I'm going to give it away up front. 5 centimeters dilated, 80% effaced, -2 station.
That's what we're talking about?
Yeah. We got that.
How many times do we have to tell people cervical exams don't mean shit? I'm like, do we need to put it in Braille, a different language? What do we need to do here?
Right. Because you guys, Collin and I got both of those exams, 580 -2, client A and client B, but we're calling them K and B by their first initials. Okay. In their labors, first time birthing persons, full term. Let's talk. We got to share. We got to tell, we got to bring it home. Why don't you tell K's story?
So,
Because she went first. You tell K.
oh, sweet baby angel. She had prodromal labor symptoms for almost 5 days, I think. She was doing all the comfort measures, all the things. We were doulaing the shit out of her to get through prodromal labor, but nothing was progressing. We'd had her get baby checked on. She was losing stuff, all that stuff. And then she went to get a check. And I think at that check, she was 580 -2.
580 -2. She had, and by prodromal labor, you guys, we mean consistently having timeable contractions with a start, a peak, and a stop, 6 to 18 minutes apart. In 5 days, she never had a 20-minute break from a contraction, ever. That is prodromal labor. Labor that goes on and on and on, but it never progresses to closer to under 5 minutes apart, lasting for 60 to 90 seconds. So, I mean, all she wanted was an unmedicated birth. And she lasted 5 days.
I told her at one point I couldn't emotionally handle that without trauma.
Who could?
Oh.
Well, anyway, we got her through it. We had her go get, check on her baby a couple of times. And that was started on Monday. And on Friday, she was 580 -2. And her contractions were finally 4 minutes apart. So they admitted her. Woo, they were like, you are in labor.
And so they called you in, and then I came and switched with you later. So do you want to say how it was when you were there?
Yeah. So I got there at maybe 10 o'clock in the morning, and I labored with her until 10 o'clock at night. And
yeah,
I would say it progressed a little bit. Okay. So 580 -2. The whole point of this is it doesn't give you any information. We even had the doctor do a bedside ultrasound to check position. Since Collin and I are certified in spinning babies, I was like, I need to know ROT, LOT, OP. I was kind of guessing ROP, but when they did the ultrasound, baby was actually ROT. So I was like, great, that's a different set of positions.
This is just a shout out to last week's episode about it is helpful to have doulas that know their shit and that know the providers.
Right. Because I was able to be like, hey, can we get a quick bedside ultrasound just so I make sure I'm doing the right things? Man, we did everything and she was unmedicated the whole time. We did everything. Everything. Every hip squeeze, every shake the apple tree, every sacral release, every jiggle, every massage, acupressure, hanging on the birth sling, toilet seating. I mean, bundle birth, spinning babies, Miles circuit, Levante circuit. We literally did all of it. And guess what happened, you guys? Collin came on shift because she was still pregnant at 10 o'clock at night.
And she was still unmedicated and she was doing all the things.
But our spidey senses were really up because no matter what we did, her labor was not progressing.
Yep.
And so we don't need vaginal exams to tell us that your labor is progressing or not progressing. Her labor was not progressing.
I think when you had got her checked at some point, you know, her exam was similar. I came on, we continued to do all of the things. And then she got another exam later on. It was the same. She got we continued to do, I asked about baby's position, all that stuff. We continued to do all of the things.
Okay.
And for still, baby didn't come down.
Okay. So let's pause there. So we have client K, who has been now in labor for, I think, about 18 hours at this point. And the baby never descended past a -2 station. Her cervix never effaced more than 80%. And her cervix fluctuated between 5 to 7 centimeters. So it went to 7 and then it swelled and regressed back to 5. Okay. So this is a key vaginal exam that she got, 580 -2. And 14 hours later, 16 hours later, actually, no, I'm sorry, 18 hours later. I'm getting my times. 18 hours later, she was still the same, a swollen 580 -2. Okay. Story A. All right, let's go into last night's story.
Oh, this is why Collin takes naps during the day. So this was an induction. A client called us. I was with her throughout the evening. She was definitely progressing. Things were getting closer together. Things were getting much more difficult. She was starting to say things. I think I typed a note that was like, first, I can't do this, all of that stuff. And then you ended up switching out with me. And so she was originally like 460-ish, -2. And then you switched out with me.
Yeah. Well, then her water broke. So she was 38
she was
weeks.
So cute. She said, "What's in between my legs?"
B. She's a doula. B's a doula also. We were dueling the doula. She got induced, you guys, for IUGR, intrauterine growth restriction, at 38 weeks because the baby's AC was less than 3%. You know, they're not big people, but I'm going to we saw the cause of the IUGR. So both of these stories, we're going to tell you about how the babies are the keepers of all the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Not your doctor, not you, not the doula, your baby. Your baby is the keeper of all of that sacred womb space knowledge. We cannot.
They are smart.
Mm-hmm, they are so smart. So this birthing, she goes by mom, but this birthing person, she responded so quickly to her induction. Her body was ready. Okay. She got a little bit of Cervidil, took a nap, got a Cook catheter. It fell out within a couple hours. Then her water broke. They added a tiny bit of Pitocin, which, like, I'm going to go down that rabbit hole, but we turned that shit off once her water broke. Like, sorry.
That's our next episode, why we turned that shit off.
Right. I'm like, no Pitocin needed. Her, like, we induced and now she's in labor, so we don't need to augment. Like, she wants unmedicated. Let's just keep going. Okay. So at 8:30 in the morning, y'all, 8:35 to be specific.
Just left.
Collin walks out the door.
Oh.
And we turn the Pitocin off, and the midwife does an exam, and she's 580 and -2. Okay. This is a defining moment for me as a doula, right? I have the opportunity to bring the birth of Kay with me to this birth space and go, shit, it's going to be 18 hours, right? Or my experience tells me a vaginal exam means absolutely nothing. Nothing. So I looked at my client and I said, you can have a baby on your chest in less than 1 hour, or you might be in labor for several more hours. This
And
you're
this is important. The reason she got that exam is because she was thinking about making a change in plans medication wise.
Yes. She got an exam because she was considering an epidural. I was like, this is a small baby. We're at 38 weeks. It's a small head. Your body is responding beautifully. Like, can you give me an hour on nitrous oxide to just try? Okay. So she gets nitrous oxide and she tries. And she is clearly, Collin, in transition.
Ugh.
Clearly. So we have K, 580 negative 2.
They're both incredible.
580 negative 2, who just, just kept going hour after hour after hour after hour for 18 hours of hard
Plus the 5
labor.
days beforehand.
Plus the 5 days before. I mean, I know they say they don't give out awards, but geez, you guys. Okay. Then you've got B, and she's going much quicker, and she now appears to be in transition. Again, no vaginal exam needed. I can tell you her labor is progressing. Okay. I'm whispering to her partner, she is in transition. This baby is coming very soon. And she says the famous transition words, I can't do this. Make it stop. Make it end, make it stop.
Get this baby out of me.
That's what she said. Get this baby out of me. Make it over. This is both of them were double rainbow babies. Oh, all 3 from last week too. These are all double rainbow babies that hire doulas to be supportive. Yeah. So she is full blown about to have a baby. And she's like, Heidi, I can't do it. And I'm like, girl, it's not my body. I don't give a shit if you get an epidural, but I think you're about to deliver your baby. So like, I'm ready to keep coaching you. And so we agreed to get some fluids and to like call. Oh, that's like Bumble dinging. Let me turn that off real quick. No need to date during Doula Diaries. Doula dating. So I'm like, let's just get some IV fluids. We'll get, we'll call anesthesia. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, we're going to have a baby before then. So I said to her, may I do some moves on you that I think will help the baby descend from a -2 position? They're either going to work or they're not going to work. Collin and I did these same positions on K, patient, client K or whatever. And they didn't work. Okay. So they're either going to work or they're not going to work. So I laid her on her back and I said, roll to the side in which your body intuitively tells you to go to. So she rolled to her right side. And I did, if you guys go to spinningbabies.com, I did 4 exaggerated sideline releases where her top leg was dangling over onto the floor, almost like she was laying on her belly. And I was releasing her sacrum, her coccyx, and her pelvis kind of maneuver with some pressure. And all she said was, oh, this feels so good, while she's sucking on nitrous. Y'all, this position does not feel good. So I was thinking, okay, well then the baby is about to come out of you because it's slipped so far down. Like it's typically an uncomfortable position unless the head is beyond that part of the pelvis. Yeah. So when she's saying, oh my God, this feels so good, please don't stop doing it, I'm like, time to roll to the other side. So we did 4 on that side, rolled her to her other side. And as soon as I rolled her to the other side and did 1 release, she was pushing. I said, Collin is going to be so sad that she just left. So the baby was delivered 10 minutes later. So in B's story, she delivered a baby within an hour of being 580 -2. Now let's go back to Kay. I'm asleep. I have already worked my tail off. Collin's now working her tail off. Kay is over here working her tail off after 5 days of prodromal and then 18 hours of active labor. And Collin, she got another vaginal exam.
Yeah, and we'd regressed. That's when we had swelling, and she was now swollen 80%, but swollen 80%, so probably lower and -2.
Yeah. So.
And her baby had started to not love labor as much.
Mm-hmm. So we got an epidural, right, as a tool. Like, okay, maybe this is our last ditch effort.
Yeah, it was like the Hail Mary of let's try to relax our pelvis as much as possible in case, because everybody kept telling her that this baby was humongous.
Okay. Well, so the Hail Mary goes out, the epidural. Does she get any rest at all?
She slept for maybe 30 minutes. I went to the gas station to get a Red Bull, and her partner texted me and said, I think you need to come up here. Things are happening. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. The baby's dropped. We're going to have a baby. That was not
And
the case.
no, and instead she was sent back for an emergency cesarean section. Two things that we learned at these deliveries about what those babies knew. We saw on B's ultrasound that the baby had intrauterine growth restriction. When we looked at her placenta and explored it, they called it a marginal cord insertion when they saw it. But the umbilical cord was essentially like hanging off of the edge of the placenta. Her body was smart. Her body responded to it was about to go in, she was going to go into spontaneous labor on her own anyway, which is why we were able to turn off the Pitocin and she was able to keep going, because her body and her baby knew that the baby was safer on the outside than on the inside, and that there was abundant room and space to rotate and come down and be born. And so that happened very quickly.
With Kay, so Kay was an urgent cesarean, not an emergent cesarean.
I'm sorry, I did say emergency cesarean.
No, it's okay. But the good news is that her partner was able to be back there. But the reason that it didn't become an emergency was because she had been monitored since she was getting medication put in her system, and her baby, who has all the knowledge and all the wisdom, was telling us via their heart rate that this was not something that they were loving anymore. Mm-hmm. Right. So her baby was communicating with us. I'm ready to meet you, and I'd like to do it sooner than later.
Yeah. And so in B's story, everything kind of worked out, right? Like she was 580 -2 and an hour later had a baby on her chest. In Kay's story, everything also worked out in a different and beautiful way. And thank you for the clarifications. An emergency cesarean section, you're under general anesthesia. No one can be with you. In an urgent cesarean, it's like, we should probably go to C-section, but you're awake, you're present for the delivery. There's not a true emergency going on.
Yeah.
It's just very urgent. So that is a quite a distinction in types of cesarean sections. What the doctor noted was a double nuchal cord. So the cord was not only wrapped around the baby's neck twice, but the cord was very short. I encapsulated her placenta for her, Collin. The cord didn't even go around half of the size of a dinner plate. So it was maybe 7 inches long, 6 inches long. And it was...
That's why that baby didn't come down. He didn't have any room on his bungee cord.
He didn't have any room on his bungee cord. So where the placenta was located and inserted and then came down and wrapped around the baby's neck, it was taut. So every time he was trying to descend, the cord was just getting tight and compressed and tight and compressed. And so you guys, if you have been listening to this podcast for a long time, you know that my son Jagger had a double nuchal cord. He was not born via cesarean section. He had a long cord. I have a freaking cord keepsake that I would never do anything with because they kind of gross me out, just to be honest. I make them for a living and I don't want my own child's umbilical cord. He had a long cord. He was able to come out, but my child still suffered a brain injury and has cerebral palsy, as you guys know.
And a lot of babies, it should be said that they can be born through them and they can be resolved, and it's not an issue, but Jagger also let you know that something was going on also.
But length of the cord is important. And the only person in the room that knows about their umbilical cord is the baby. Did you guys know we cannot see a nuchal cord wrap on an ultrasound? We can't map it. We don't know that there's a cord wrap. We don't know that there's a double cord wrap. We don't know if they're wearing their umbilical cord like a backpack. Like we had one.
I would say they wrap themselves up like a birthday present.
Yeah. The baby is the keeper of all the knowledge. B's baby knew there was this marginal cord insertion, which no one knew. All we knew was IUGR. Baby is kind of slowed the growth. And that baby was 5 pounds, 2 ounces at 38 weeks. Okay. I think, what is that? The bottom 3% or something.
Mm-hmm.
So then there is Kay's baby, who was 7 pounds, very short cord, double wrapped, and knew it. And he told us over and over again, I can't descend, I can't descend, I can't descend. And you had very good doulas in there trying to maneuver that pelvis and head and cord.
I tell you what, that baby is a badass like his mama.
Oh, yeah.
That baby was doing all the things to be able to be born vaginally, and we were doing all the things in the baby. He said, like, look, guys, this is something that you may need to know, and this is the only way I can tell you via what my heart rate looks like. So, like, let's become a family on the outside now.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, Collin and I just wanted to call Collin and jump on and just chat about 580 -2. Y'all, don't get hung up on these vaginal exams, please. 580 -2, baby on your chest in an hour. 580 -2, 18 hours of labor, no progression of labor, and end in an urgent cesarean section. We don't know. It literally gives your provider, yourself, your doula, no information at all.
I will say it gives us information if you stay the same for an extended period of time. But like, we can also tell as people that don't put their hands in your vagina and feel your cervix as your doulas, based on how long and strong your contractions are, based on what's coming out of you, based on what's not coming out of you. All of these things we can tell if you're progressing typically or not.
Yeah, the sacral reflex, right? We can see if the bulge in your back is happening. We can actually see this dark purple line come up from your like your butt cheeks essentially. And as you dilate, that line gets darker. Like, we look at these things, right? But the end of that story is that 580 -2 is not a crystal ball. It doesn't tell you. And what you do next with the next contraction is a choice. And hopefully you have people around you supporting the choices that you make. So
you're the boss of your body and your baby's the boss of your baby. So like, have a team that supports all of that.
Yeah, that's it. What you doing today, Collin?
These dogs are crazy, so we're gonna go for a WALK. I can't say it or they'll bother me, but that's what we're gonna do. It's beautiful fall.
It is such beautiful fall. And you guys don't take offense to this, but I'm gonna shimmy.
Oh, baby.
No one's in labor. Shimmy.
As soon as I go on a walk, so the water's gonna break.
Collin and I have been at 8. We're recording on October 19th, and we have been at 8 births already in October with 2 more to come. It's just a very busy month with long, stories like this. But I'm glad that you guys could stick around and enjoy some Doula Diaries, and we'll see you next week.
Woo-woo. Bye.
Bye.